I might get a lot of hate for what I'm about to say, but I do feel as though I need to verbalize it just one last time. So here it goes. The Black experience in Europe is different than the one in North America. Mind you, it's not only limited to those two continents. The experience of a Black person in Africa is different than one in Asia, or a Black person in Australia may have a different experience than one in South America, and so on and so forth. I'm not American. Yes, for the last time, I'm not American. I've only been there like once, so I could never understand what it feels like to grow up Black in America, or Black in Japan, or Black in Morocco. Some things certainly do resonate with me because sadly racism is universal, but the levels of racism may differ. Although there is a common bond that unites us all, which is the beauty in our skin tones and the way we're treated because of them, the way we view the world or even the things we choose to fight for won't necessarily be the same because we haven't lived through the same experiences. And that's okay. Being Black, brown, melanated, highly pigmented, what have you, doesn't mean having to act and think a specific way. It just means living, surviving, and honestly thriving in a world that constantly tries to put us down.
So Black Americans versus Black British. I was not even going to get involved in this conversation, but somebody tagged me in a couple of videos, and so here I am. So I did not see the original video from the Afro-American woman, but I did see the video of the Black British woman who went the F off. And this is what I have to say about both videos. I think that this level of foolish division is really what has kept us globally conquered for centuries across the board, and I'm not here for any of it.
What's up, my good people? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're doing good wherever you are. So this video, I should have titled this video Our Beautiful Blackness, because that is exactly what I want us to discuss today in this video. So talking about our blackness, one video is not enough to talk about everything Black people or everything that entails being Black. So specifically, what I want us to discuss in this video is something I came across on the internet, and I realized that there is a beef between. So talking about Black people, we're going to compare African Americans, and Afro-Europeans, or uh, Black people in Europe. So I came across an ongoing beef between African Americans and Afro-Europeans, because Afro-Europeans are accusing African Americans of thinking they're way more Black than anybody else. So far, the Africans themselves have not featured in this beef. So I want to share a short clip here by a Black brother, an Afro-European for that matter. And after watching this video, then we can continue from there.
Oh, have you noticed that Black Americans don't think anyone else is Black apart from them? Can't lie, man. Being English, I'm thankful sometimes because the accent that you gave me, it saves me across the world, fam. Before they think I'm a typical you guys will say something that lets me know I am different to you. There was one time we went to New York and me and my brother just crossed the road anyhow. When we crossed the street, one policeman stopped us. Excuse me, sirs. Y'all can't cross the street like that. Y'all can't cross the street like that. Obviously, me and my brother are just kids. So we've told him like, oh, we didn't know we can't cross the street like that. We're sorry, we're not from here. Do you know what the policeman said to us? Do you know what he said? He said, man, I like that accent. Y'all free to go. Y'all free to go. I thought y'all was Black. In our face, he said that he thought we were Black. So what am I then? You're not Black. You can't be Black. Y'all British Blacks be crazy as fuck, man. How the fuck y'all be Black, British, African at the same time? How you do that shit, man? Make up your mind, fool.
Okay, so as you have heard from that brother, and from his accent, you could clearly tell that he is from the UK. And his accusation for African American is, why do they always see themselves and feel themselves as being way more Black than anybody else, or probably than the Afro-Europeans? Okay. And first of all, we have to understand that Blackness, we're all Black, and Blackness is actually the common factor here. That is what really the color of our skin, the melanin in that we possess, is the common ground. However, what we also must understand is over time we have lived experiences that have made us different in one way or the other. So, historical factors, geopolitical factors, even economic factors, time and histories that we actually don't share, particularly as Black people. And we know that Black people exist just about anywhere on earth today that is habitable, of course. And for, the mobility of people or of man has been enhanced, especially by technology, and all of us have taken advantage. So, talking about blackness and Black people, there is a wide scope of who Black people are actually. We think of Africa as the motherland, uh, the source of all Black people and actually all people on earth. And then now we have African Americans who we sometimes think of these people as the descendants of slaves that found themselves in the Americas. But still in America, we have Black people that are not actually descendants of slaves, but they're either immigrants or descendants of African immigrants that moved there for opportunities, for business, so on and so forth. So, in America in itself, we're already coming up with different categories of Black people. And then, of course, we have the Black people in the motherland of Africa. And then we have the Afro-Europeans. All of these people have different experiences, and these different experiences have shaped us differently. Still, the common factor here is our Blackness. So there is a sister here, Black sister here, who takes on a drastic point of view. I want to share her perspective also, and then we have something to say again at the end.
I've seen a lot of Black Americans asking why Africans hate them, and I'm going to answer the question for you. Number one, this American ego transcends race. It doesn't matter if you're white American, brown American, or Black American. There seems to be this ego that makes you think that you are the main character wherever you go. Therefore, when you go to places in Africa, you get surprised when you're treated like just another tourist. I've heard people saying stuff like, they only cared about my dollars. Yeah, this is a supermarket. You've gone there expecting a kinship and connection with people whose history diverges from your history. When those slave ships took off, the countries that, you came from, they went on. There were still things happening to them, and there's still things happening to them today. Your history isn't as shared as you think that it is. There isn't this kind of Black kind of community in a lot of countries in Africa because everyone's Black. I would get it if you were in Sweden and you're walking past another Black person and they didn't smile at you, and it's like, we are the only Black people here, like in this city. I'd get it. But you can't go to Africa and expect Black people to care that you're Black. And also, it's not a hate of Black Americans. There's a hatred of Americans in general. A lot of places do not have a great history with America. And while it's very much clear to us that we can live in countries like England with terrible histories and who are right now selling billions of pounds and arming places like Israel, we can understand that within these countries there are different politics, there's different dynamics, there's still social hierarchies. You cannot expect people who are on the receiving end of the violence of the countries that we live in to care that we are not at the top of the social hierarchy here. But I get called European child by my own relatives who I am literally biologically related to. Because nobody cares, because I was raised in Europe, so I might as well be white to them. You can't go to other countries and bring the race dynamics of your countries to theirs. And there are places where you go where people won't treat you like that. People will accept you and will be like, oh, I'm so happy that you're here. But you guys keep going to places that are heavily populated by tourists, by American soldiers, and a lot of these American soldiers are Black. And then you're acting surprised when people aren't that, shocked and happy to see you. So to conclude, it's not that they hate you, it's that they don't care about you.
Okay, so we have heard from that sister's perspective. Again, I must emphasize that we're all black. That is the common ground. But I must also not tire to insist, to emphasize on the fact that we have different lived experiences because of where we come from, where we live in, politically, geographically, and historically, and even economically sometimes. Now, is it true that African Americans um, think of themselves as way more black than other people? And are they really even more black than Afro-Europeans or even Africans themselves? I will say, uh, in my honest opinion, no, they're not actually as such. Well, they're definitely not black than other people. The point is, I think this is the point. So for African Americans, we're talking about the descendants of slaves. These are people that have come from a difficult history. These are people that have been or were enslaved for 240 years, disenfranchised for 240 years, have lived in a foreign land for 200 years. And they have always been made feel like they're not up to the standard of, they have been demeaned and devalued, and therefore their blackness has become the point, the rallying factor to their unity. So over time, with the black movements coming up and fighting for human rights, fighting for their own rights, this really becomes what can be the most tangible part of their identity. Their blackness is their identity, their pride, their sense of community, their sense of togetherness. And of course, this is well ingrained in generations. And then they become vocal, obviously vocal. Remember the black movements of the 80s and and before that time. So over time, the vocalness is what is now being seen as they talk more about their blackness than everybody else who's also equally black. And what I have also observed, you tend to observe keenly, is that Afro-Europeans tend to kind of like an assimilation, or they're not as vocal. They kind of assimilate into the cultures of where they are the minorities in, or into the majority, and therefore we don't really hear about so much about. And then again, another point is their populations. Thinking about the population of black people in the United States, compare that to black people in the UK, in France, and in Germany. We have a far bigger population, far older black population in the US than in any other country in Europe, so to say. So and then we come to the continent of Africa, and now from my perspective as an African is black people, Africans don't exactly talk much about their blackness, because being black in Africa doesn't put you in a position of minority. So you don't realize. So race for Africans who are, especially when they're at home in their home countries, race is not a big point. Uh, because everybody else is black, we're not so conscious about blackness, especially when we're home, until we're outside, and it's when you're like, wow. So being black is this and that. So for Africans, in our scale of identity, blackness does not really rank very high. you know, because everybody around you is black. So everybody possesses blackness. So you have nothing to show. There is nothing to talk about by being black and being part of your identity, because it is everybody else's identity. So other things now come in. That's why in Africa, things that are much more pronounced are things like tribe, tribes and clans and nepotism. Maybe those are the factors that we can equate to racism, more or less. So that is actually the differences. So I think we need to talk about this much more. This is a subject that is better discussed. We need to be a little more tolerant, a little more forgiving and welcoming, and understand that we have different histories. People that have lived as sons and daughters of slaves would never really behave exactly the same as those in the continent of the motherland of Africa that did not exactly experience slave trade or slavery firsthand, and same as those that are in found themselves in Europe as well. So I think we need to discuss this more, and we need to hang on to our beautiful blackness, and that should come on top of all of our other differences. Put our historical, geopolitical biases a little bit lower on the priority, and focus on just blackness, and let that be the unifying factor. I don't know what you have to say on this, but if you do have your opinions, go to the comment section and share your opinions. You might as well like and share this video, and most importantly, if you have not subscribed to our channel, go ahead and subscribe for more content like this. So until next time, I will see you in the next video. Peace out.